Good evening, everyone. I hope you're well. I'm going to talk a little bit this evening about weight loss and the truth about weight loss in your 40s and beyond. So your 40s and your 50s, and even when you have, gone through that life stage and you're a little bit older. I don't often talk about weight loss because that is not the focus of my programs. We take a more holistic approach and focus on health rather than weight loss. But I'm fully aware that weight loss is an issue, absolutely. It's certainly an issue for women, my age, in their 40s and their 50s, because our body is changing. So if you are getting very frustrated because, the things that you are doing, you see as healthy ways of living, they're not, entirely obvious. I eat well most 80% of the time. I'm trying to exercise, I'm moving, I'm doing this, I'm doing that, and still I'm gaining weight or I'm retaining weight. And more often than not, that weight is held around the midsection. So if you're watching and you can relate to that, please give me a wave, let me know what your experience is. But it is frustrating, and you can make all your best efforts and you can't see anything changing. And then you feel, well, some of us feel, very negative about that and think it's our fault that we are just simply not doing enough, or we don't know what we're doing, and that we're hopeless and we're not trying hard enough. And actually, some of the times we could be trying too hard. We might not be eating enough food when we need to be eating more food. It sounds counterintuitive, but if you're not eating enough food, the body will retain weight. We're doing more and more and more exercise in the hope that we will shed those pounds, and more often than not, they're vanity pounds, some of them. And I don't mean, I'm not being rude about it, I'm just saying, they're kind of the last 7 to 10 pounds are the hardest to shift if you're on a weight loss journey. So it can be very frustrating, but sometimes we can be pushing too hard, we can be doing too much, we can be doing too much cardio that's stressing the body out. So it's a process that is not simply about calories in and calories out. Once upon a time for us, it probably was that. We knew that if we ate too many calories and we didn't burn it off, we were going to gain weight. And it seemed, for some of us, not all of us, obviously, that simple, that we knew in our 20s that if we were going to do that, then more often than not, we would put weight on. We were able to then say, okay, well, let me adjust that. I'm going to eat healthily for a period of time. I'm going to move more. And, we came back to more of an equilibrium. It's not that simple when we're in our 40s and 50s. And you may well have experienced that, as I've just explained. So you may have experienced that, you might be counting calories. You might be, as I say, trying to eat healthily and doing the exercise, but you're not seeing the changes. And it's very, very frustrating. However, and I do talk a lot about women's changing bodies in the 40s and 50s because the vast majority of my clients are in that age group. The reason I wanted to talk about this evening is because one of my members inside Backstage has just lost a stone in weight. She'd lost 7 pounds and 10 pounds, and then she got to the stone. She wasn't overweight. It was those vanity pounds that she just needed to or wanted to lose. And so we had celebrated this inside the Facebook group. We had shared wonderful photographs of her torso, and this got everyone else really inspired, and that's absolutely fantastic, and we encourage that. But the Backstage is not focused on weight loss, but if you apply the principles and then do the work, that's the side effect of it, is that you're going to drop those pounds and tone up. So that prompted me to think a little bit about, well, this is clearly an issue for people. This is something that all these ladies are kind of focusing on, but I wanted to pull back a little bit from that and not have the focus purely on weight loss. And it you know, you can get kind of carried away with, you know, the excitement of that and seeing that happen, and it's wonderful and motivating. But the person in my membership that had lost the weight has, you know, been very sensible about it. It's taken a period of time, and that's not the only thing that's happened for her, you know, more energy levels, etc., etc. So it does need to be a more of a holistic approach, and there are a number of factors that can contribute to you retaining weight. The first one is sleep deprivation. So if you're lacking in sleep, there's research that shows it elevates the BMI, the body mass index. So you're more prone to putting weight on if you're not getting enough sleep, and we're aiming for 8 hours of sleep a night. So that is seriously something to look at, to see, you know, why am I not getting 8 hours of sleep a night? Why is that disturbed sleep potentially? And disturbed sleep, you know, you might be getting off to sleep just fine. Maybe you're not going to bed early enough though. If you're, you know, if you're getting up at 6, you need to be going to bed at 10 or asleep at 10. But if you're going to sleep fine, but you're waking in the night, could that be a digestive issue? Could that be that you've eaten too late in the evening, or you've eaten spicy foods, or, you know, you've had a takeout, you've had several glasses of wine? All of these things contribute to disturbing the sleep. So there are things that you can do to make sure that you're getting that 8 hours a night. So sleep is one of the factors that absolutely contributes to weight gain or weight retention. The second one is, you know, yes, we all know that we need to be eating the right foods. And having a varied diet. It shouldn't feel restricted, but it should be, you know, your whole grains, the protein, good fats, trying to steer clear of refined sugars and carbs, refined carbs, not all carbs. But it's not, again, it's not just about what we're eating, it's also about when we're eating. And so there's lots of research that has shown that, you know, the body needs periods where it's fasting, and the most natural time for us to do that is while we're sleeping, hence why breakfast is called breakfast, because you're breaking your fast. But I think because of the hectic lives that we now have, you know, we're possibly eating further into the evening, waking earlier, having an earlier breakfast, or skipping breakfast and getting into these sort of inappropriate eating habits. What we should be trying to do is confine our eating time or feeding time to 10 hours. So if you're having your breakfast at 8 a.m., let's say, then your last meal should be, the last time you eat should be at 6 p.m. so that you're eating within a 10-hour window. Then stops you snacking into the evening, and your body needs that time. It needs that fasting overnight for at least 12 hours to process and to you know, do everything it needs to do during that time. So if you're constantly giving it more and giving it more, the digestive system's getting disrupted. The body can't do what it needs to do. So it's really important that you try to confine eating to within a 10-hour period, and that you stop any inappropriate eating habits like skipping breakfast, for example. It's really, really important that we do that so that we, you know, are full and we're getting all the nutrients that we need within that 10-hour window. One of the other aspects that's huge with weight gain and weight retention is stress. And I could talk for a very long time about stress. But busy women, who are the women that I serve, in their 40s and 50s, you know, we have stressful lives, and stress is a normal thing. It happens in all our lives. It's not always a bad thing. It's a very natural response. It's that fight or flight response that we get. So our body is used to that. Our body is trying to protect us. The problem is when we never have periods without that stress. So we are in stressful situations, and you know, we've all been there. You might be running late in the morning because something's happened. That's stressful. The cortisol spikes. You then get in the car to travel somewhere. Someone cuts you up in the car. Cortisol spikes. And there are, you know, a number of issues because we're being pulled in so many different directions that contribute to our stress levels. So the body produces cortisol, that's a stress hormone, to deal with that. But the problem with that is that the cortisol doesn't necessarily leave our body particularly quickly. The adrenaline of a stressful situation does. We calm down, we breathe, we move on. The cortisol levels can remain in our body for several days. So if we're going through stress after stress after stress, actually the body is never rid of those cortisol levels. It's never, they're never coming back down. And so that, if you're feeling kind of wired and tired at nighttime, you go to bed, but then in the morning you're feeling sluggish and you just can't get out of bed, that might be an indication that the cortisol levels are elevated. And, because we're on this cascade of stress that just keeps going and going and going, that can lead to low grade sort of chronic inflammation in the body. And that then leads us to make bad choices. That inflammation makes us want to eat the wrong thing. It causes cravings where we don't want to exercise because we're feeling very lethargic. So we start to make wrong decisions, or decisions that aren't moving us forwards towards the healthy life that we want. And we need to try and better manage those stress levels, because those raised cortisol levels cause your body to retain weight. There's a direct correlation, and the weight in women is normally retained around the midsection. So if you're one of the people I was describing at the beginning that struggles to get that weight off, you feel like you have the tire around the middle, you've gone a bit more apple-shaped than pear-shaped, there are things that you can do about it. And I know it's frustrating. It's not as simple as I say, calories in, calories out. Stress is a huge contributing factor to that. And it's not as straightforward as, well, I'll just watch my diet, because you've got to really think about, well, what is causing stress? Are there things that I can change in my life to stop that contribution to those stress levels? Are there ways that I could change the way I view particular situations so that I'm not flying off the handle, that I can, be more resilient to the stressful situations that we find ourselves in on a daily basis? And the reason that it's important is because those stress levels are then causing us to retain weight around the midsection. It's visceral fat, and that can be dangerous. So it can increase your risk of heart disease. It can increase your risk of diabetes and cancer. And it can also, the fat that is retained around the midsection also causes production of estrogen, which can in itself cause sort of hormone-related illnesses. So it is a big issue, and we need to try and address that. And weight gain, I know, is stressful in itself, but I think if we can try and pull away from the focus being on weight loss, and the focus being more, and I talk about this a lot, on the real why. Why is the weight gain or the weight retention a problem for you? And as I've just explained, it's a health issue more than it should be an aesthetic issue. So yes, it's great to have those ripped abs and to be able to see them because you've worked hard for them, because you've been working out, which absolutely you should be doing, working out in the right way, doing the right form of exercise when we're in our 40s and 50s. But it's also important for health issues. And whilst we worry about weight gain, the jeans not fitting, what do I look like in a bikini, are people going to look at me, and it reduces our confidence. Actually, if we can focus on the health issues, you will have times where you don't want to eat the healthy food and you don't want to exercise, and you're just tired and exhausted and you don't want to do it. You're not in the mood for it. If you can, in those moments, focus on the health, then you're much more likely to be motivated to work out. So for me, if I'm not particularly happy with the way I'm looking, or if I've not worked out for a week and I've eaten rubbish and I've gone on holiday, it happens to all of us, I know that I can shift that again. I know I can do it because I know what to do. But also, the concern I would have over that is not so much how I look, is, I don't want this to get worse because I'm now in my 40s. I know what the consequences of this is, and I do not want to go down that route. I absolutely don't want to do it. I want to protect my health. I want to be around for a long time, feeling strong and feeling energized and healthy. So, the truth about weight loss in your 40s and beyond is that it is not simply a matter of calories in, calories out, working out, eating healthily. Sleep, stress, and eating within a 10-hour period are huge contributing factors, and they are all things that you can do something about. You could be hard on yourself and say, you're hopeless, you can't do this, what's the point, just give up, why bother, it's too hard, I'll just stay as I am. Or you could focus on controlling the controllables. These are things that are in your control, whilst it may not feel like that right now, because I know, feeling overweight, your confidence is low, you don't feel great about yourself, but you absolutely can control it. So that is going to make you feel empowered. And if you're focusing on the health reasons for sorting out those controllables, controlling them, and making sure that you're doing the right thing, you will feel the confidence, and you most certainly will have the motivation to do the things that you need to do. So my suggestion for you would be, keep it simple to begin with. Don't try and do all the things. Don't say, oh God, now I've got to, how am I going to do that? Don't start getting stressed about how you're going to reduce your stress levels, is what I'm saying. You need to just take it slow, take it simple to begin with. Focus on your sleep, number one. So try and think about ways that you could improve that. And secondly, focus on eating within that 10-hour period. Because if you can do that, and then you're not eating late into the evening, you may find that actually the sleep just becomes a little bit easier because the digestive system's not waking you. You've not had, that glass of wine later. You've not had the takeout at 8:30, 9 o'clock at night, because it will have a knock-on effect. It might help you go to sleep having a glass of wine, but it is going to wake you in the night more often than not. So my 2 tips would be, go simple to begin with, focus on your sleep, and focus on eating within that 10-hour period so that your body has a period of fasting naturally overnight. Okay, so I'm not saying going on one of these fasting diet things. I'm not about diets. Ditch the diets, but just 2 things to begin with: sleep and eating within that 10-hour period, and just see if that makes a difference for you, because there are really strong connections between weight gain, weight retention in this age group for women who are not sleeping well, stressed beyond belief, through the roof with the cortisol levels, and not eating at the right time. So I hope that helps. You need to keep it simple, and try and be good 80% of the time, because life is for living, and the other 20% of the time, we can push the boundaries a little bit. So it doesn't have to be restricted. It doesn't have to feel heavy. It doesn't have to be a big deal. It's small steps. Do something towards these goals every single day. And if you can get the sleep right, and you can get the eating right between 8 and 6 or 7 and 5 or whatever works for you, just do that and see if it makes a difference. If you're watching and you're already doing these things and you're finding that helps, then let us know. If you think, actually, I am going to go away and do that and see what happens, let me know. Let me know if you're in and you're going to go and do that, and what results you get in a week's time, in 2 weeks' time, in a month's time. Try and track that and just see what changes you can feel and see in your body. But Try and pull the focus away from weight loss. Don't push too hard for something. Don't want something so much, because then it becomes heavier and it feels harder. Focus on a holistic, more health focus, and find your why. Find why you want to do that, and hopefully that will be for a health reason. Once you can focus on that, you will be motivated and you will find that things start to change for you. And I hope they do. Take those 2 tips away, keep it simple, and I will speak to you again very soon about similar issues and what you can do to help yourself. All right, everyone, take care. Bye.